What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here for a little Marvel Monday. That's right, it's the weekly comic book / Marvel trading card show, and today we are going to dive into comic books. There will be Loki spoilers ahead. We are going to discuss Loki and its impact on the comic book markets for the short term and the long term. One specific book, and how I think this is just going to keep the money machine going, as Rudy the Magic Guy likes to say, for a long, long time. So Loki spoilers coming. I will hit another spoiler warning before we get to that point, just so you could bail out for a little bit if you have not watched it yet. I assume if you're watching a video about comic books, you are probably current on Loki, but just wanted to play it safe. I am sensitive to spoiling stuff for people. So, and then we're going to talk about just some general comic book market stuff. Some prices are pulling back on a few key things, and if you missed the boat, now might be the time as the hype train has moved on to other things. Before we dive in, this video is sponsored today. The wonderful people over at My Slabs and I have kind of teamed up because we're a perfect match. You comic book people might be saying, My Slabs, isn't that the card site? Well, yes, it was, but they also now have comic books available for buy, sell, and trade. The advantage here is 1% seller fees. And their site works pretty easy. Just take a picture of the front and back, scan it, upload it, and then you get a text message when you get an offer or an email. But only 1% seller fees. Everything goes through PayPal goods and services, so you have buyer and seller protection there. And so you get 4% total in fees, 1% to My Slabs, 3% to PayPal. So you save 10% over eBay. I know I always say, check if you're buying or selling, you should post your stuff everywhere and take advantage of all the different marketplaces. You never know who's looking where. So I encourage you guys to go check them out. Once again, they sponsored this video, so we are going to cut to a quick word from our sponsor. And then when we come back, we will dive into some comic book talk. So spoiler alerts ahead. And then, just flip through. If you skip ahead a few minutes, if you don't want to see spoilers here in the next few minutes. So word from our sponsor and then into some market talk.
Tired of paying 10%, 15%, or more to sell your cards, comics, and digital collectibles? How does 1% sound? Too good to be true? Well, not anymore. MySlabs.com is the web's premier user-driven marketplace for buying and selling slabbed cards, sealed wax, and now slabbed comics and digital collectibles. So the next time you're forced to pay 10% or more to sell something from your collection, head over to MySlabs.com and join the 1% revolution.
Once again, thank you to My Slabs for sponsoring this video. All right, first up, Loki spoilers. 3, 2, 1. All right. Kang is here. The Loki season finale was absolutely fantastic. It was one of the best Marvel things I have seen. I would put it in my top 10 easily, including movies and other episodes of shows. Loki in general as a series has been absolutely fantastic. And the season finale really, it took the snow globe and just threw it against the wall. It didn't even shake it. It just threw it against the wall. Anything is possible now. The multiverse is here. We're going to see it all. They could do whatever they want. They could recast people and bring back them as variants. The whole kit and caboodle is available for them. If they're at the buffet, everything's on it. This is their way to bring in whoever and whatever they want. Alternate timelines, alternate worlds, Spider-Verses, the SpiderMan meme with everyone pointing at each other, mutants, all of it. I still don't think we see XMen for a while. We have a lot of stuff planned out for the next couple years, and then going in the Fantastic Four is kind of the last known big thing. We know Kang's the major villain. Obviously, he was introduced last episode with an absolutely fantastic performance by Jonathan Majors. Just absolutely fantastic. And that, once again, opens up everything. Literally everything. And it has been proven time and time again that The MCU just completely drives the comic book market. It is basically, I know one of my viewers, Justin, kind of always refers to it as this is Major League Baseball prospecting, but comic books. You know, you're trying to speculate on who you think's going to get the call up to the big leagues, and when they do, their stuff goes nuts. And then depending on the character hits, even more so. And the thing with the Marvel stuff is, to this point, it's all been pretty good, so you don't have to worry about something dudding out. And this just constantly means that there's always going to be hype, demand, spec on this thing and the next thing and whatever it is, because the Marvel machine is not stopping anytime soon. With what they've done with Loki and opening up the multiverse as a full playground, they have endless stories they can now tell forever and ever and ever. Even if Kang's defeated and things go back to normal, there will always be a multiverse presence now. So it's always going to be a factor now and forever. I still think we're a ways away from the XMen, so I think there's still plenty of time to jump on that spec train. Obviously, various different Avengers stuff is going to pop up here and there. I am still of the mind, my general stance has been on the comic book market. I am not chasing super modern stuff. That is still the case. Don't get me wrong. If I see a cool variant cover that I want to have just to have, I'll go for it. But if I'm actually putting quote unquote investment money in, if you will, I'm still going after, keys from the early 2000s and later. I would like to get into more Silver Age stuff. It is pricey. The two biggest books on my list are still Giant Size X-Men 1 and Hulk 181. I would like to own both those at some point in time. I have not bought any comic books recently. With the recent sports card market dip, I've been taking advantages on that side of the world. But I still have tons of stuff on my want list, and if the right prices pop up, I would pounce. So there's specifically, besides Hulk 181 and Giant Size X-Men 1, there was one other X-Men key that I've had my eye on for a while, and I just could not find a price that is accurate compared to current market comps on it. So I hold out for the right book and the right price on that one. But let's get into some individual prices. So we're going to start with Avengers number 8, first appearance of Kang. This thing's gone absolutely wild. And, maybe this pulls back a little bit, but here's the thing. Kang is going to be around for a while. We're going to see multiple different versions of him. He's going to be here for the long term. So even if you're coming late to this one, there still could be room for this one to run for a while, because he's going to keep popping up in movies. He's the big bad in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and I have a feeling he is going to pop in cameos in different versions and be, the next Thanos for a long, long time. He is going to be with us for a while. So I think this one has room to continue to go. Obviously, much older book, Avengers number 8 here. You're going pretty old school on this one, which makes it very pricey. So we're going to hop into GPA analysis here and look at some price trends. I went with a 7.0 blue label. Just because it's the only, it had a lot of recent sales, and it's kind of in that, I guess 4,000 is relatively affordable. But you can see the trend here just kind of ticking along, and then it started going crazy because of the casting announcement. But it's really gone next level the last couple days after the episode. So you can see the prices here through the beginning of the year, 1,000, up to 1,500 in the spring, floated around 1,500. Jumped to 2,500 to 1,800 as the Loki spec, or as the Kang spec grew harder in the Loki series. Nice one there for 1,750. Jumped to 3K, and now we're at 4K in a 7.0. I personally don't know if I see this one dipping back down anytime soon, especially given how difficult these are to find in a decent grade and how old they are. This one's going to be tricky, and I think it's going to hang around for a while. So if you want one, you're going to have to kind of buy high, I think, or you're just going to have to wait for a very long time if you're looking to jump on this train. And I don't blame you one way or the other. But I think this book is going to hang around for a very, very long time. Let's kind of check in on some of the other ones that I like to talk about a lot from the 80s and 90s. some of the key ones that are kind of like show you the general health of the market. And a lot of stuff has pulled back. The stuff that got hyped in the spring, a lot of the Spider-Man stuff, 300, this book, 252, have had a little bit of a pullback as we moved out of the spring and into the summer. It's not like the sports card market. The sports card market has pulled back essentially across the board. Almost everything is down 30, 40, 50% in sports cards since March/April. Maybe even a little bit sooner than that, February/March. The comic book market, some stuff is down, but equally some stuff is up. The money's just moving around to different places depending on whatever's getting the various hype and buzz at any individual time. So we'll see here ASM 252, very underrated, I think, especially for the current prices. At some point in time, I 100% believe we are going to see Tom Holland in the black suit, and then this will go absolutely insane. Currently, last sale, 1,600 on July 2nd, 12th, rather. That's the first one that's sold in a while. And this is in a CGC Blue Label 9.8. These are low-ish census. They're not super low, but they're not nothing either. Through June, it was a 2K book. It floated around 2 to 2,500, but it was basically low twos. There was one 24.50 sale. That might be a newsstand. But basically, this was a 2K book. The last sale puts it at around 1,600. I saw some posted on IG for still around the old price of like 2,200-ish. If you could find one for around 1,600, I think that is an absolute steal. I would be gobbling these up all day long at 1,600 if you either don't have one or you're looking to add into a second one. I think that's a very good price for that, especially considering I really truly believe that eventually Tom Holland's going to be in the symbiote suit at one point in time or another. In a CGC 9.8, there's about 1,400 of these, I believe. Is that right? I'm just double checking. Yeah. 1,400 of these in a CGC 9.8. So not exactly a ton. Not nothing, but not a ton. And I think that book has a lot of room to grow. Speaking of symbiotes, ASM 300 has had a major pullback as we moved out of spring into summer. This one peaked around 8K back in May. Since then, it has kind of pulled back to about 6K. It's actually gone back up a little bit. It was up to 8, pulled down to under 6. Here's a 5,100 or 5,600. And then kind of like what we see in the sports card market, when the stuff goes back down again, then it kind of hits a floor and spikes back up. And I think we are going to be pretty stable with this at 6K for a while until something pops to make this bounce back up again, whether it's the actual Venom movie releasing or Venom showing up in the same movie as Tom Holland, I think would cause this to go absolutely crazy again. But we've seen what the ceiling is at 8K, and I think it could eventually be higher, depending on if Sony and Marvel continue to work together. That's the only thing that's tricky with the Spider-Man stuff. You're reliant on those two continuing to work together and wanting to put these movies out. But you have to hope that people like money and they'll keep working together because they will keep printing money based off this. So it looks like this will set it in at a nice 6K amount. So if you want one, that's probably what you're going to have to pay for it to get one. I was looking at a 9.6 of this personally. I came very close to pulling the trigger back in the spring, but ended up passing on it. I may circle back. I would like to have one. I have a lot of the other Spider-Man keys, especially the modern stuff. I'm really just missing this and 316 and 361. But as of right now, I would rather put that money towards a giant size XMen or a 181 or something like that. So, but if you're in the market for Venom, it seems like his prices have kind of leveled off at around 6K after it dipped down below 6K for a very, very short time. Speaking of giant size X-Men #1, this one has seen a little bit of a pullback lately as well. I adore this book as a long-term hold. The X-Men will be coming at some point in time. It is just a matter of when. You're going to hit on one of these, and this is like, other than true X-Men #1, to me, this is the book to have. This is a CGC 8.0. I went with this because it had a relatively recent sale to kind of show the recent trend. This one's been all over the place. You can kind of see on the graph, it shot way up, dropped down, then dropped down a little bit again. Most recent sale, 6K of an 8.0. And then you could see it was up to 7, a little over 7, 6, 6.76, 6.5, 6.8, 7, 6, 8. That's an off-white one. 7.9, 7 point. So it got almost up to 8. And now we're back down to 6. An 8.0 for 6K seems very reasonable. That's the lowest that it's been really since about between February and March. Back in February, it went from 4.5 and then spiked all the way up to 7.5. So to get that for around 6 seems fair. But if I went across the different grades, you would see kind of the same thing. A little bit of a pullback on Giant Size X-Men 1 across the various different grades. Like I said, I just went with an 8 because it's a little bit of a higher grade. It kind of shows the drop a little bit more. I am bullish on this one long term. I think this is one of, in the world of collectibles, where not a lot of things feel safe, this one feels about as safe as it comes, in my opinion, almost regardless of grade. As long as you have a long term time horizon. That's the thing about comic books. They have especially stuff like this specifically, not these wonky modern variant covers, very specific key first appearances. Like if we're talking X-Men, SpiderMan, even Batman, to mention some DC stuff. I just feel like they have such a high floor that, yeah, they might have been flow over time, but I just feel like it's hard to lose if you're going long term on stuff specifically like Giant Size X-Men #1. Hulk 181. Everything I just said about Giant Size X-Men #1 apply to Hulk 181. There's been Hugh Jackman's spec that maybe he comes back, especially with the multiverse stuff now. Could we just see a Hugh Jackman cameo as Wolverine, or just him standing there with claws or whatever? People would lose their damn minds. These continue to jump a little all over the place, but have also pulled back. This is in a 8.0 as well. A little bit more pricey here. But these spiked all the way up to around 9 and 10K. You can see multiple 10K sales here back in April and May. Slipped back to 8, another 10K sale here, 9.6, back in late June. And then in July, it has slipped back down to around 8K or under. There's an 8.1, a little under 7, and 8, and a 7.5. So we're seeing the same thing here. A little bit of a pullback here on these X-Men keys. I don't know if it's just because the general market's slowing down, because what we're seeing in the sports card world, where people are getting back to their normal day-to-day, so there's less money flowing in. I am sure that is some of it. But on the flip side, there are things still going absolutely crazy every single week. There are new records being set with different books. So it feels like the money is just shifting to whatever the shiny object in the room is. And even though we don't have X-Men yet, it's just a matter of time. And the first time we get an X-Men tease or a trailer, I think all these X-Men keys are going to go ballistic, especially if you guess on the right characters. That's the key question, really, is what characters do they bring in? But I have to imagine we're going to get a Wolverine. That one is a no doubt no-brainer. And then it's kind of where do they go from there? Wrapping things up, we'll end on the channel favorite, New Mutants 98. Channel classic, kind of the poster child of my comic book coverage. This one's also pulled back a little bit as well. Once again, CGC 9.8 for this one, blue label. It has kind of settled in right at 2K. This got upwards of close to 3 back in the spring, the 2.8, 2.7, 2.8, 2.6. There's an actual 3 back in April. Kind of floated around there. It has pulled back and settled in very nicely right about $2,000. We see a 2, a 2.4, a 2.3, a 1.9, 1.9, 2.1, and a 2.1. I think for right around 2K, if you haven't jumped on board yet, I feel like this is a perfectly good buy right around 2K. We had the Deadpool trailer the other day. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that, where it was a trailer for a Ryan Reynolds new movie. It was supposed to come out last year. They did a reaction video with Deadpool and Korg as YouTube reactors. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm a sucker for good reaction videos, so it really hit home, especially as a YouTube content creator. Just some of the stuff in there was absolutely hilarious. So it's clear that Marvel has big plans for Deadpool. The second we get a Deadpool trailer, a villain, whatever, his stuff's going to go nuts too. He is 100% coming, and it sounds like they're going to do that character justice. This book for 2K, I get it. It's air quotes high pop or high census, There's a lot of them out there, but he's very well could be the face of Mutants going forward once all this stuff settles out. So I don't know. What do you guys and girls think? Are you still buying a bunch of stuff up? Are you sell mode? Are you wait and see mode? I feel like we're getting to the land of good buying opportunities on a lot of this stuff. I like seeing the dip on, as someone that does not own a giant size X-Men #1. I like seeing those price dips on there that maybe I can make a move. I got to get through the national. Maybe I'll run into one at the national. Someone asked me, personal finance dad and flipping Steve asked me the other day, like, what's on your list for the national? I said giant size X-Men 1 if I run into one. So if someone's selling CGC books at the national, I will be front in line to take a look at what you have. But once I get through the national, I have a feeling I'm going to reshift some of my focus back to the comic book world. I can't think the last thing that I bought, actually. It's been a hot minute. A lot of that comic book money went to X-Men metal cards. So, but I'm ready to dive back in specifically on a GSX 1. So, but yeah, that's all I got for you guys and girls. Like, comment, subscribe. Go check out the sponsor, My Slabs, if you're looking to buy or sell slabbed comic books, CGC or CBCS. 1% seller fees are absolutely fantastic compared to the 14% that you're going to pay eBay. And once again, buyer and seller protection with PayPal goods and services. So both sides are still protected. But that's all I have for you guys and girls. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff down below. We will catch you. Programming note, next Monday will still be a Marvel video for sure. The following Monday, I am not sure. That is the national weekend. I will be coming home the day before. Odds are that'll probably be national content on that Monday. I would be shocked if it's not, or I may just take the day off because I fell asleep after 4 straight days at the national. So there might be a week break where there's not a Marvel Monday, but I will probably just do a comic book video later in the week to make up for it. But next week, definitely still Marvel Monday and all the normal sports card content throughout the week. So everyone have a great week. Have a great Monday. Catch you on the next one. Peace.